Hello, welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Here are the headlines we are tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty consolidate after hitting record highs in early trade. Broader markets outperform. Stocks across the world are largely stable after the US Fed held interest rates steady and signaled one rate cut in 2024. Adani-owned Ambuja Cement will acquire 100% stake in Panna Cement at an enterprise value of more than 10,400 crore rupees. The deal gives Adani significant footprint in western and southern India. This is the second major acquisition after Sanghi Industries since entering the cement business 2 years ago. With just about a month to go, budget preparations begin at the Finance Ministry. Industry body CII calls for a 25% hike in government capex, simplification of taxes, a three-tier GST structure, among several other demands. The first GST Council meeting under the new NDA government will be held on the 22nd of June. Sources say the Fitment Committee will study Oil Ministry's proposal to bring aviation fuel and natural gas under the GST regime ahead of the Council meeting. Insurance regulator releases final rules on payout to policyholders if they surrender early. Life insurers likely to pay 78% of the total premium received as surrender value. Insurance stocks gain as the final surrender value is lower than what the markets were expecting. This is India's decade, says the group chairman of Standard Chartered, Jose Binals. The global banker cum policy maker says India is attractive because of its scale, macro stability and policies like the production-linked incentive scheme. 42 Indian nationals are among the 49 people killed in a residential building blaze in Kuwait City. 24 people are reported to be from Kerala and 5 are from Tamil Nadu. A DNA test is being conducted to identify the victims as many bodies are charred beyond recognition. Amidst widespread protests, the National Testing Agency withdraws the grace marks awarded to more than 1,500 students in the NEET examination for admission at medical colleges. NTA tells the Supreme Court it will conduct a retest for the affected students on the 23rd of June. A setback for Delhi, reeling under a water crisis. Himachal Pradesh government tells Supreme Court it does not have any surplus water and an earlier statement was misconstrued. Apex Court tells the Delhi government to approach the Upper Yamuna River Board. Ajit Doval reappointed as India's National Security Advisor for a third straight term. P.K. Mishra will also remain the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister. More than 37,200 Palestinians have been killed after 250 days of Israel's war in Gaza. Ceasefire talks hit a hurdle. The United States claims changes proposed by Hamas to the truce deal are not workable. Hamas claims it has shown full positivity to clinch a deal. World leaders gather in Italy for the G7 summit with the wars in Ukraine and Gaza on top of the agenda. Prime Minister Modi leaves for Italy in what will be his first foreign visit of the third term. Straight to the day's trading action. Market closes at record highs amid broad-based gains. Sensex and Nifty gain 0.25% while mid-caps continue to outperform. That index closed nearly 1% higher, hitting new peaks for the fourth straight session. Nifty Bank underperformed. Stocks across the world were largely stable after the US Fed held interest rates steady and signaled one rate cut in 24. Adani-owned Ambuja Cements will acquire 100% stake in Penna Cement Industries for a little over 10,400 crore rupees. The deal gives Adani significant footprint in western and southern India. This is the group's second major acquisition after Sanghi Industries since entering the cement business 2 years ago. Nigel D'Souza joins us now with the details. Nigel, tell us about the strategic importance of this deal for the Adani Group and the contours as well.
Well, that's right, Parikshit. That's the big news that's coming in there. Post-market hours, Adani Group has gone ahead and bought Penna Cement for a valuation of around 10,400 crores odd. The funding they'll be doing by internal accruals, and that's because Adani is sitting, or Ambuja Cements is sitting, on a big cash balance, and they said they're going to deploy it. So let's run you through a couple of contours then. How does it help Ambuja Cements? Well, a few factors at play. This acquisition brings closer to 14 million tons odd, which takes their capacity to around 89 million tons. Ambuja Cements has said numerous times that they're looking at, taking this capacity to around 140 million tons odd. So post this acquisition, total capacity goes to around 18 million tons. And how does it improve their market share? Well, throughout India, it improves market share by close to around 2%. And in South India, it takes their market share up by close to around 8%. A few more details on Penna Cement. Well, they have a capacity in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, as well as Rajasthan. A couple of their units, though, are under construction. So to take that total 14 million tons on, you have close to around 4 million tons that are currently under construction, but they'll be completed in the next 6 to around 12 months. They've also mentioned that they have surplus clinker at Jodhpur, and that will support another 3 million tons on. So besides this 14 million tons, they have the ability to go ahead and add another 3 million tons. So in total, it could move to around 17 million tons. What works for Penna Cement? Well, they have close to 90% of their cement capacity that comes with railway sidings, and it's also supported by captive power plants. Valuations, when on 14 million tons, it comes in at around $90 per ton. If you include the other 3 million tons that I was talking about, then it comes down to around 80 million tons. We're assuming close to around 1,000 crores will be spent on the additional 3 million tons. How do stocks react in tomorrow's trading session? That's going to be the big reaction, right? You have stocks like Sagar Cement, NCL, KCP. They're smaller cement makers who have South Indian presence, even India Cements. So the street will be a buzz that there is consolidation out there. So we'll keep an eye out on a few of these names. Ambuja Cements as well should react positively because it's a step in the right direction, moving to around 140 million tons. Just a contra view out there, if you have a large player coming in there into the southern belt, will it disrupt things? So that could be a bit of a challenge to the larger players out here. Maybe a Ramco Cement. For starters, the stocks open up in the green, but maybe a little later on, the street will come to terms with Ambuja Cements making its presence felt in the region, which could be a little bit negative in the time to come. Parikshit, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Nigel, for explaining it so well. Moving on with the NDA 3.0 government getting down to business, the preparation for the union budget for FY25 has begun as well. Minister Nirmala Sitharaman took charge of the Finance Ministry yesterday and held a meeting with senior officials. The FM directed officials to initiate the budget preparation process, emphasizing the need for meticulous planning. The union budget is likely to be tabled in Parliament by the third week of July. Now, as preparations for the union budget begin, industry body CII has released a wish list. A 25% hike in the government's capital expenditure is the top demand. Shivani Bazaz is here with more on what India Inc. wants from the budget.
CII has come out with its key recommendations from the new government. Amid the biggest asks by the industry body, CII is a 25% hike in India's capex to drive growth and global competitiveness. CII has also urged the government to simplify direct taxes and rationalize tedious provisions by reducing rates and creating a small negative list. CII has also called for a consistency in capital gains tax rates and holding periods for different financial instruments. Sanjeev Puri, who took charge as the new CII chairman here in Delhi today, emphasized the need for a 3-rate GST structure, inclusion of petroleum products, electricity and real estate under the GST regime, and a 3-tiered import duty structure also. He also highlighted the importance of operationalizing the rupees 1 lakh crore R&D fund announced in the interim budget, evolving a regulatory framework for the artificial intelligence and updating the 2007 design policy. On the healthcare front, CII seeks a roadmap to increase public expenditure to 3% of GDP. The industry body has also sought a roadmap to increase public expenditure on education to 6% of GDP. CII has asked the new government to set up a task force, including the Niti Aayog, the Ministry of Education, the state governments and industry for tracking NEP implementation state-wise.
We are strongly advocating is that from where it is for last year, another 25% increase in capex. It's sitting at about 16.8% in the interim budget, but we believe 25% will provide the good boost to the economy. So we are suggesting rationalization of tedious provisions by reducing the number of rates and having a small negative list, and also to rationalize capital gains.
The group chairman of Standard Chartered believes this is India's decade. He spoke exclusively to CNBC TV 18's Lata Venkatesh and said that India is attractive because of its scale, macro stability and policies like the production-linked incentive scheme.
India remains a very attractive destination, and this is a theme that will continue because the underlying factors which are leading to that remain. So I think this is more of a structural trend. And India has something which is very important, which is scale. India has a very large internal market, in addition to other very important attractive features. Is a country with very strong fundamentals, very important also.
Union Minister Rajnath Singh has assumed charge as the Defence Minister at the South Block today. This will be his second consecutive term as the Defence Minister. Rajnath Singh promised to take India's defence exports to 50,000 crore rupees by FY27.
यानी हम चाहते हैं कि सशक्त भारत का निर्माण हो, आत्मनिर्भर भारत का निर्माण हो, ये हमारा उद्देश्य है। और साथ ही साथ रक्षा उत्पाद में हम आत्मनिर्भर बने, ये सबसे बड़ा उद्देश्य हमारा है। और इस दिशा में एक मंजिल हम लोगों ने तय की है और आप सब लोगों को मालूम है कि 21,000 करोड़ से अधिक का हम लोगों ने एक्सपोर्ट किया है, जो कि एक हिस्टोरिकल ये अचीवमेंट है। और मेरा तो टारगेट ये है कि इसको हम कम से कम 5 साल समाप्त होते होते 50,000 करोड़ से ऊपर ले जाएं।
BJP MP from Telangana G. Kishan Reddy also took charge as the Union Minister for Coal and Mines. Reddy succeeded party colleague Prahlad Joshi, who will now be handling the consumer affairs and renewable energy portfolios. Kishan Reddy served as Tourism Minister in the previous government. Telugu Desam Party's Ram Mohan Naidu took charge of the Civil Aviation Ministry today. He is the youngest minister in the new government and the TDP's only cabinet minister. Remember, TDP's Ashok Gajapati Raju served as the Civil Aviation Minister in the first Modi government for 4 years before Chandrababu Naidu quit the NDA in March 2018.
Digi Yatra scheme, and it has improved the convenience and it has improved the efficiency with which a person can come to the airport and board the aircraft also. So we want to expand it to all the airports in the country, and we want to make it at a war footing level. Right from the time of COVID, when the air travel has taken a huge hit, there have been some fluctuations in the air prices, and it hasn't been stable since then. And not just as a minister, I have been observing this as a passenger also for the last 4 years, and definitely that is also a cause of concern.
And Ajit Doval has been reappointed as India's National Security Advisor under Prime Minister Modi's government. Meanwhile, PK Mishra will also remain the Principal Secretary to the PM. They will also hold the rank of Cabinet Ministers. Mishra has served as the Principal Secretary to Modi when he was Gujarat's Chief Minister. Moving on, the insurance regulator has announced new surrender value norms for life insurance policies. As per calculations, life insurers would pay 78% of total premium received as surrender value to policyholders. This is higher than the existing rate. However, life insurers were anticipating a higher payout value. Yash Jain joins us now. Yash, how is the sector reacting to the developments?
Finally, after about 6 long months of negotiations between the industry and the regulator, the final surrender value framework is out, and it is certainly not in favor of the life insurance sector. The regulator has, maintained its stance of giving higher surrender value to policyholders. The regulator has kept the surrender value to be paid to policyholders at elevated levels. This entire issue around surrender value started from December 2023, when the first draft on surrender value was released by the regulator. That draft suggested a total surrender value which came to about 83%, which means on a 10,000 rupees premium paid annually, if the policy surrendered in the second year, about 8,300 rupees will have to be returned to policyholders as surrender value. Of course, this met with a lot of resistance from the life insurance industry. Presentations were made, and then the regulator came out and said that we'll fix the guaranteed surrender value much lower at just about 30%. The industry took a lot of relief out of it, but right after that, the regulator started discussions on increasing the special surrender value, which would eventually take the total surrender value higher. Here, very recently, just about 2 weeks ago, the regulator wrote to all life insurance companies suggesting the mechanism in which special surrender value should be increased, and that again took the special surrender value to the levels of about 82%. Of course, the same thing was repeated. A lot of resistance from the industry. In fact, a lot of exemptions and relaxations were sought by the industry, but the regulator clearly hasn't budged, except for giving that one little exemption of just about 50 basis points of comfort in the GSEC yield, additionally over the GSEC yield of 7%, which comes handy in calculation of special surrender value. As per the new regulations, the final regulations, the special surrender value is kept at 78%, which means if a policyholder pays 10,000 rupees in premium annually, second year the policy is surrendered, then the life insurance company will have to return about 7,200 crore rupees, 7,823 crore rupees as surrender value, which is 78%, much higher. This means higher expenses for life insurance companies and negative for their margins. Though the life insurance stocks surged in today's trade because the overhang of this constant negotiation between the regulator and the industry is out of the way, and now the industry can focus on business from here on and strategies to mitigate the negative impact of higher surrender value.
At least 42 Indian nationals are among the 49 people who lost their lives after a fire broke out in an apartment building near Kuwait City on Wednesday. The fire reportedly broke out in a kitchen on one of the lower floors of a building in a locality called Mangaf. Indians account for 30% of the overall workforce in Kuwait. Kuwait authorities have said that they will assess the issues related to overcrowding of expats in buildings. Authorities said that they will also look into violations by owners of the building. Kuwait media has also reported that several local government officials have been suspended. In international headlines, Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry claims that over 37,200 Palestinians have been killed since the start of the war. Meanwhile, the ceasefire talks have hit a hurdle. The United States is claiming that changes proposed by Hamas to the truce deal are not workable. On the other hand, Hamas claims it has shown full positivity to clinch a deal. At least 9 people have been killed and more than 24 injured after a Russian missile strike on Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky's hometown. As per the Ukrainian military, the attack is the deadliest in weeks, and it damaged an administrative building and an apartment block. Leaders of the world's largest economies have started arriving in Italy's Puglia region for the G7 annual summit. From geopolitical tensions on the back of 2 ongoing wars to climate change to Africa, the 3-day forum promises to be a busy affair. Italy Prime Minister Meloni kicked off a roundtable meeting, said that G7 was not a fortress but an offer of values to the world. The world leaders will be hoping to come to an agreement to extend an additional 50 billion funding to Ukraine. Narendra Modi has left for Italy as well. This would be his first foreign trip after taking charge as Prime Minister for a 3rd term. A bilateral meeting with Italian Prime Minister Meloni is on the cards as well. Argentinian President Javier Milei will also be attending the G7 summit at a time when massive protests have rocked the country. Violent protests erupted in the capital city of Buenos Aires over the president's contentious bill that seeks to privatize some state entities and dilute labor rights. Protesters clashed with the police, who fired water cannons and tear gas to stop them. The Senate passed the bill in an all-night voting marathon. And coming up on India Business Hour, amidst widespread protests, the National Testing Agency withdraws the grace marks awarded to more than 1,500 students in the NEET examination for admission at medical colleges. Details in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC TV 18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. In national headlines, in what comes as a setback for Delhi, which is reeling under a severe water crisis, the Himachal Pradesh government told the Supreme Court that it does not have any surplus water to spare. The government said that its earlier statement had been misconstrued. The apex court has told the Delhi government to approach the upper Yamuna River Board. BJP leader Pema Khandu has taken oath as the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh for the 3rd consecutive term. Meanwhile, we have been hearing that a Deputy Chief Minister has been sworn in along with 10 other cabinet ministers. The BJP returned to power in the state and they won 46 seats in the 60-member assembly. The ministers took oath in the presence of Home Minister Amit Shah and Health Minister JP Nadda. The National Testing Agency has withdrawn the grace marks awarded to more than 1,500 students in the NEET examination for admission at medical colleges. The agency has told the Supreme Court that it would also conduct a retest for the affected students on the 23rd of June. Ashmit Kumar now joins us with all the details. Ashmit, take us through what transpired in the court today.
Well, let's begin with a bit of trivia. The NEET examinations for 2024 alone attracted over 24 lakh applications. So that gives an indication as to the interest that this generates within the student community applying for medical programs. Now, what's important is that a number of applications have been filed before various high courts and importantly, before the top court of the country as well, which have flagged instances of corrupt practices of paper leakages as far as the NEET examinations and the conduct of these examinations are concerned. Now, this is a larger issue that the Apex Court has said that it will hear in detail in the month of July. But what's important as of today is that there were concerns raised with respect to grace marks that had been allowed to over 1,500 students, 1,563 to be specific. Now, the concern that was raised by the petitioners is that these students appear to have been given grace marks by the testing authority, by the testing agency for not having been given enough time. The NTA, the center, was present before the top court. They said that, look, there were students, 1,563 of them, that were not given the stipulated time of 3 hours and 20 minutes. Therefore, we worked out a formula, and under that formula, we gave them grace marks. Now, this is something that the centre said cannot be continued. The Apex Court had reservations of its own, and on the back of that, the centre has now said that, look, we will scrap those scorecards. We will take away the grace marks that were given to these students and we'll allow them an opportunity to give a retest. And that is something that the Apex Court has taken on record, saying that there is a retesting opportunity. That is an option now being made available to these 1,563 students. So clearly, concerns being reflected on the conduct of these examinations. The Apex Court previously observing that the sanctity of the NEET examinations has been called into question on account of these petitions and posting this matter for further hearing in the month of July.
And speaking of NEET, students gathered at Delhi's Jantar Mantar to protest against the National Testing Agency. Parents were seen sitting in scorching heat to demand justice for their children. Protests also erupted in West Bengal, Higher Education Department's headquarters in Kolkata over alleged irregularities in the NEET entrance exam and delay in admissions in state-run colleges. Meanwhile, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan rejected allegations and said that there was no evidence of a paper leak.
देखिए, एक तो मैं आपको स्पष्ट करूं, सरकार उसकी सामना करने के लिए उसको संतुष्टि के साथ बच्चों को उत्तर देने के लिए बहुत प्रामाणिकता के साथ खड़ा है। स्पेसिफिक घटना जो आए हैं उसको सरकार गंभीरता से लिया है।
Only 1,500 students doing retest does not solve the problem of 2.4 million aspirants who wrote NEET examinations, prepared for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. There has to be an independent party claiming and finding out that was only these many students were impacted. We should actually give a window for at least a week or a month to the students, asking them to come out and come forward and telling about if they faced any issue in their center. Because right now we have reasons to believe that there are multiple times more students who got impacted.
720 वालों को फिर भी एम्स दिल्ली नहीं मिलेगा, फिर भी अच्छा कॉलेज मिल जाएगा। पर हमें तो कॉलेज मिलना भी बहुत मुश्किल है। 640 वाले को, 650 वाले को, 620 वाले को, 640 वाले को। एक साल के अंदर इतना इन्फ्लेशन हो ही नहीं सकता। जैसे मेरे मार्क्स आए हैं 670 में मेरी रैंक एक्सपेक्टेड थी पिछले साल के ट्रेंड्स को देख के 3000 के अराउंड, लेकिन इस बार आई 15,000 रैंक, जो इतनी हाई कभी एक्सपेक्टेड ही नहीं थी। किसी ने सोची नहीं थी कि 5 टाइम्स इन्फ्लेशन हो जाएगा। हाँ, पेपर लीक ऑब्वियस ही बात है हुआ था। पहली बात तो ये कि एनटीए ने जब विंडो क्लोज हो गई थी एडमिशन की विंडो क्लोज हो गई थी तो 2 दिन के लिए दोबारा ओपन हुई थी और कहते हैं एक ही सेंटर से 7-8 बच्चे टॉपर निकल रहे हैं। ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है?
जब उनको री एग्ज़ाम लेना ही था तो उन्होंने ग्रेस मार्क्स क्यों दिए? और ग्रेस मार्क्स दिए भी तो आपने उनको पब्लिश क्यों नहीं करा? आपने उनको ब्राउशर में अपने क्यों नहीं लिखा कि हम ग्रेस मार्क्स देंगे अगर टाइम का लॉस होता है तो? इतना सवाल करने के बाद आप आज आके बोलते हो कि हम दोबारा रीटेस्ट देंगे। इससे क्या साबित होता है एनटीए के द्वारा कि एनटीए टेस्टिंग एजेंसी है कि एक स्कैम एजेंसी है जो बच्चों के साथ स्कैम कर रही है।
And the contribution of semiconductor stocks to the S&P 500 index has been on the rise thanks to optimism around the growth of the sector and artificial intelligence. Nvidia recently hit a market cap $3 trillion. Other top chipmaker stocks have also had a good run so far this year. Rachna Dhanrajani is here with all the details.
The rise of semiconductor companies in recent years has been nothing short of meteoric. This is clearly reflected in the S&P 500 index, where the weight of semiconductor companies has surged from a mere 2% in 2014 to about 11% in 2024. On a lighter note, the gains from these companies might now very well have you believe that the S in S&P could stand for semiconductors. Among the leading companies are Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, the TSMC, AMD and Nvidia. These have been standout performers. First, let's look at TSMC. The stock has appreciated 62% year to date. As the world's largest dedicated independent semiconductor foundry, TSMC is crucial for tech giants like Apple, AMD and Nvidia. It serves as a critical supplier, particularly in high demand markets such as mobile computing and artificial intelligence. AMD. The stock has seen 22% rise in its value year to date. Under the leadership of CEO Lisa Su, the company has aggressively expanded into the AI chip market, positioning itself as a key player next to Nvidia. Su projects that the market for data center AI chips will reach $400 billion by 2027. However, AMD has often been perceived as the number 2 in the industry, now in AI chips second to Nvidia and previously in computer chips second to Intel. An interesting fact that recently caught the internet's attention is the familial relationship between the CEO of AMD and the CEO of Nvidia. They're actually cousins. Nvidia. It has been the talk of the town with its $3 trillion market cap. Now with 29,600 employees, Nvidia has a $102 million market cap per employee, dwarfing industry titans such as Apple and Meta, both at $19 million, Microsoft at $14 million and Alphabet at $12 million. Nvidia employees from mid-level to leadership have a rough net worth ranging from $3 million to $100 million. This wealth creation is largely attributed to the company's practice of granting initial stock awards and the so-called Jensenization effect in the Silicon Valley, where employees receive an additional 25% restricted stock units, the RSUs, as a part of the Jensen special grant. It is not just the employees, however, who are benefiting from this. Nvidia has showcased year-to-date growth of 150%, 1-year growth of 210% and 5-year growth of 3,200%. And going forward, analysts forecast that Nvidia's stock could surge by an additional 258% by 2030. There are also projections that Nvidia could reach a $10 trillion market cap by 2030. Since its listing on January 22, 1999, at an IPO price of $12 per share, Nvidia has delivered returns to its investors exponentially. Nvidia's success is anchored in its products, particularly its graphics processing units, the GPUs, which comes with the Hopper series and the Blackwell series. These have been pushing the boundaries of computational power and catering to the needs of artificial intelligence and machine learning applications. So the dramatic ascent of semiconductor companies led by Nvidia is reshaping the global economic landscape. The rapid growth within the S&P 500 not only highlights the importance, but also underscores their role as the backbone of modern technology.
With that, it's a wrap on India Business Hub. But before we go, we would like to thank all our viewers for your continued support. CNBC TV 18 recorded a viewership of 93% on counting day as the stock markets were reacting to the votes being counted. We had a viewership of 91%. Once again, thank you for all your trust and faith in CNBC TV 18. News continues after this short break.